Hello everyone! Today I will explain about the new iPhone Air. Hello, welcome to the episode of Crossover Mind.
Hello, it's great to be here. So today's topic is the iPhone Air. I have to admit, I'm a bit confused by this one. I saw the announcement and my first thought was, this seems a bit lame.
That's a very common reaction, and it's completely understandable if you just look at the spec sheet. Let's break it down. The new standard iPhone 17 starts at $799. The iPhone 17 Pro, the top-of-the-line model, starts at $1,099. And then, sitting right in the middle, is the iPhone Air at $999.
Exactly. It's $200 more expensive than the standard model, but it has fewer features. For instance, it's missing the ultra-wide camera that even the base iPhone 17 has. It seems like you're paying more for less. I've heard some people say it's a test run for a future foldable iPhone, but that doesn't really make sense to me. Wouldn't creating a whole new manufacturing process for this Air model just be an unnecessary cost if a foldable is the real goal?
You've hit on the exact points that are making people scratch their heads. And you're right to be skeptical of the foldable warm-up theory. The iPhone Air isn't about preparing for a foldable phone. It's a classic, brilliant Apple strategy playing out in real time. It's not about the specs on paper. It's about shaping customer choice, maximizing profit margins, and cleverly de-risking Apple's future technology. It's a multi-purpose tool disguised as a single product.
Okay, you've got my attention. A multi-purpose tool. What's the first purpose?
The first, and perhaps most visible purpose, is mastering price segmentation and what's called choice architecture. Apple isn't just selling phones, they're designing a buying experience that guides you. Think about the lineup. $799, $999, and $1,099. The iPhone Air carves out a very specific new segment. There's a group of customers who value aesthetics, thinness, lightness, and premium materials above everything else. For them, the incredibly thin titanium design is the main feature. They wouldn't be satisfied with the standard iPhone 17, and the iPhone Air at $999 is the perfect product to capture them. Apple is essentially monetizing thinness as a premium feature.
So it's for people who prioritize style over, say, an extra camera lens. I can see that. But what about everyone else?
That's where the genius of choice architecture comes in. For a large number of people, the lack of an ultra-wide camera is a significant downside. They look at the $999 iPhone Air and think, well, it's thin, but I'd really miss that camera. Then they look at the price of the iPhone 17 Pro, which is just $100 more at $1,099. Suddenly, that $100 jump seems like a small price to pay to get the extra camera, a better processor, and all the other Pro features. The iPhone Air acts as a decoy.
A decoy? Can you explain that?
Sure, it's a well-known marketing strategy. Imagine a restaurant with 3 bottles of wine, one for $30, one for $80, and one for $150. Most people won't buy the $150 bottle, but its presence makes the $80 bottle look reasonably priced, and more people will choose that over the cheapest $30 option. The iPhone Air does the same thing. It makes the jump to the more expensive and more profitable Pro model feel like a smart, value-driven decision. Its existence helps sell more Pro models, which in turn lifts Apple's overall average selling price and, crucially, its profit margins.
Wow, that's clever. So the Air isn't just there to be sold, it's there to make the Pro look better. But surely making this super thin phone with a titanium body is expensive. How does that help with profit margins?
Another excellent question. This brings us to the second purpose, margin engineering with what's called a leaner bill of materials, or BOM. The BOM is just the list of all the parts that go into making the phone. While the titanium frame does add cost, Apple is incredibly skilled at balancing its budget. The biggest cost-saving measure here is removing that second rear camera.
A modern smartphone camera module is a complex and expensive piece of hardware. By dropping it, Apple saves a significant amount of money.
So the cost of titanium is offset by the savings from the camera.
Partially, yes, but there's more. Let's talk about the brain of the phone, the A19 Pro chip. The press release says both the Air and the Pro models have the A19 Pro. But if you look closely, the Air's chip has a 5-core GPU, while the Pro's has a 6-core GPU. This isn't a random decision. It's a textbook move in semiconductor manufacturing called binning. When they make these complex chips, not every single one comes off the production line perfectly. Some might have a tiny flaw in one of the GPU cores. Instead of throwing those chips away, which would be incredibly wasteful, they disable the faulty core and bin it as a 5-core version. These are still incredibly powerful chips, perfect for the iPhone Air. This allows Apple to use more of the silicon they produce, dramatically improving their manufacturing yield and reducing waste and cost.
So they're using perfectly good, but not perfect, chips in the Air to avoid waste and save money. That's incredibly efficient. It's starting to make sense that this phone isn't about being lame, but about being incredibly strategic. What else?
Now we get to the really big, future-facing strategies. The iPhone Air is a controlled, low-risk proving ground for two of Apple's most important technological shifts. The first is the introduction of Apple's very own in-house designed cellular modem, the C1X.
A modem? You mean the thing that connects to 5G? Why is that a big deal?
It's a huge deal. For years, Apple has had to rely on third-party companies, primarily Qualcomm, for its modems. This means they have to pay another company for a critical component, which cuts into their margins. It also limits their ability to integrate the modem perfectly with their own hardware and software. By designing their own modem, Apple can control everything, optimize for power efficiency and performance, and, most importantly, cut a massive external cost. However, a new modem is incredibly complex technology. If there are bugs or performance issues with connectivity or battery life, it could be a disaster.
And you wouldn't want that disaster happening on your flagship Pro models, which are your biggest sellers and have the highest expectations.
Precisely. So they introduced the C1X modem in the iPhone Air. It's a new product line sold in high volume, but it's not their absolute highest stakes device. This allows them to validate the modem's performance across millions of users and hundreds of global networks in the real world. If it works perfectly, great. If there are minor issues, they can be fixed with software updates without damaging the reputation of the Pro line. It's a massive strategic pilot program that de-risks their transition to in-house modems. If C1X is a success, you can expect to see it roll out across the entire iPhone lineup over the next couple of years, which will structurally improve Apple's long-term profitability.
That's fascinating. A live, global-scale beta test hidden in plain sight. What was the second major technology shift it's testing?
The second is the global push to being eSIM only. As you can see from the press release, the iPhone Air has no physical SIM card tray. Removing that tray might seem small, but it saves precious internal space, which can be used for a slightly larger battery or other components. It also eliminates a mechanical point of failure and improves water resistance. From a logistics standpoint, it's a dream for Apple. They no longer have to produce and manage different versions of the phone for different regions that require physical SIMs. It simplifies everything.
But some users and carriers might not be ready for an eSIM-only world.
And that's why they're using the Air as the tip of the spear. It's a new product, so there's less expectation of it being the same as before. They are using the iPhone Air to force the transition. By making this device eSIM only globally, they are sending a clear signal to carriers and customers that this is the future. It accelerates adoption. Again, it's a big change, and doing it on a new line rather than the established Pro or base models minimizes any potential backlash.
So if I'm an investor or just someone interested in business strategy, what should I be watching for with the iPhone Air? It sounds like its success isn't just about sales figures.
Exactly. The investment angles here go far beyond unit sales. First, watch Apple's gross margin reports in the coming quarters. If the iPhone Air sells reasonably well, or if it successfully nudges more people to buy the Pro, we should see Apple's overall iPhone profitability tick upwards. Second, and this is the big one, keep a close eye on the performance of the C1X modem. Read tech reviews and user reports about connectivity and battery life on the Air. If it's solid, that's a huge win for Apple's vertical integration strategy and a major headwind for incumbent modem suppliers like Qualcomm. Third, watch for the manufacturing techniques piloted in the Air, like the 3D printed titanium port. If those processes show up in next year's Pro models, it means the pilot was successful, leading to more durable and potentially cost-effective designs in the future.
And I suppose the same goes for eSIM adoption?
Yes, if there's minimal friction and customers adopt it smoothly, expect Apple to aggressively move more models to be eSIM only in the future, further simplifying their business. Finally, it's even a test for user behavior. If people are generally happy with the Air's single main camera and don't complain loudly about the missing ultra-wide, it gives Apple valuable data that they can get away with leaner camera systems on certain models, which is another lever they can pull to manage costs and margins.
This has completely changed how I see the iPhone Air. It's not a lame phone with weird specs. It's a strategic masterpiece, a decoy, a margin booster, and a low-risk testbed for the future, all rolled into one impossibly thin package.
That's the perfect summary. It's a monetization of design, a stepping stone to full vertical control over their core technologies, and a masterclass in product portfolio strategy. It shows that when you're evaluating a product from a company like Apple, you can't just read the spec sheet. You have to read the strategy behind it.
This was incredibly insightful. Thank you for breaking it down in such a clear way. It feels like I've learned a secret about how their business really works.
Thank you for joining us again on Crossover Mind. At Crossover Mind, we provide the latest information on technology, business, and society, and delve into important themes beyond them. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Until next time, look forward to it. Goodbye.